Today, Dalton, Illinois, is once again at the heart of a political scandal that has many residents questioning the integrity of their leadership. The embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard is under increasing scrutiny, with new developments casting a shadow over her already troubled administration. What began as a routine political controversy has spiraled into a complex web of allegations, with the most shocking being accusations that the mayor may have hired gang members to intimidate or silence her former assistant. Carmen Carlo, this latest chapter in the unfolding drama, is particularly explosive, as it paints a picture of a leader willing to go to extreme lengths to protect her political career. Allegations that Henyard may have involved criminal elements in her struggle for power are sending shockwaves through the community. If proven true, these claims will reveal a mayor whose desperation has led her into morally and legally questionable actions, straying far from the image of a public servant that the citizens of Dalton once believed in. The saga began with what many initially saw as a typical political crisis, but quickly turned darker. The most recent development revolves around Carmen Carlo, once a trusted confidant and assistant to Henry, who has now become the central figure in a growing whistleblower scandal. Carlo's decision to speak out has put her at odds with her former employer, and new reports suggest that Henyard's response to this betrayal may involve tactics that are less political and more criminal. Carlo, who was in a prime position within Henyard's administration, had access to sensitive information and was reportedly complicit in several questionable decisions, including allegations of financial mismanagement. She seemed to enjoy the benefits of her proximity to power, enjoying perks and opportunities that many believe were tied to her closeness with the mayor, but that loyalty appears to have shattered in recent months. With Carlo opting to expose the mayor's activities rather than stay silent, the allegations against Henyard paint a troubling picture of financial misconduct, unethical leadership, and improper conduct. The mayor has already faced public criticism for mismanaging the village's finances, and now, these new allegations threaten to escalate the crisis. The most shocking rumor involves Henyard allegedly hiring gang members to intimidate or silence Carlo, who many believe possesses critical information about the mayor's illegal dealings. The idea of a sitting mayor engaging in such criminal behavior is almost too surreal to believe. It reads like a Hollywood thriller rather than a real-life political scandal. Yet the ongoing developments in Dalton suggest that no one is immune from corruption or betrayal. The town, once known for its peaceful atmosphere, has now been thrust into a storm of political intrigue, corruption, and even violence. As the investigation unfolds, the future of the mayor's leadership and the trust of Dalton's residents hangs in the balance as the crisis deepens. One of the most troubling aspects of Henyard's tenure has been her controversial use of police security detail. Questions have arisen about her decision to withdraw officers from regular patrols to focus on protecting herself. Critics argue that this move shows Henyard's increasing focus on personal security rather than public safety, at a time when the town's residents are demanding more transparency and accountability from their leadership. This decision to prioritize her protection has raised concerns not only about her priorities, but also about the level of confidence the mayor has in the police force and the safety of Dalton's residents. With allegations mounting about her financial practices and her questionable use of power, many are wondering if Henyard's leadership is now driven more by self-preservation than by a commitment to the people she swore to serve. Carmen Carlo's dramatic transformation from loyal assistant to whistleblower has been a pivotal moment in the unfolding scandal. Once a trusted ally of the mayor, she has now become the key figure exposing the cracks in the administration. Her shift in allegiance has fueled speculation about her motivations, with some viewing her as a heroic figure who has bravely stood up against corruption, while others accuse her of opportunism, suggesting that she only turned on Henyard when it became clear that her position within the administration was untenable regardless of the motivations behind Carlo's decision to blow the whistle. The consequences have been profound. Her revelations have shed light on a host of damaging information that has only deepened the public's mistrust of Henyard and further damaged her already fragile reputation. With the town already grappling with accusations of financial mismanagement and unethical conduct, the new revelations have raised even more questions about the mayor's leadership. Dalton's residents are now faced with a series of complex questions about accountability, transparency, and whether the mayor will ever be held responsible for her actions. The once stable community is now at the center of a storm of corruption and betrayal, and many are left wondering if this will be the tipping point for a leadership that has long been under scrutiny. As the investigation continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether Henyard will be able to weather the storm or whether this will mark the end of her political career. Adding to the pressure is the discovery of a significant and puzzling financial transaction. A report surfaced that the mayor authorized a $40,000 purchase from Amazon, an expenditure that is now under investigation for its legitimacy and purpose. This move has raised further questions about Henyard's handling of public funds and whether she used her position for personal gain. With more and more questionable transactions and actions coming to light, the scandal continues to unravel, leaving Dalton's future uncertain amid all the turmoil. One thing is clear. The people of Dalton are losing faith in their leadership. Trust in Henyard's administration has been irreparably damaged, and many are now questioning whether the town can ever recover from the scandal that has rocked its foundations. The town's trustees, many of whom have been blindsided by these developments, are now scrambling to navigate the shifting political landscape. Legal counsel has been brought in to help manage the crisis, but the town is still reeling from the shockwaves of these new revelations. The political discourse in Dalton has shifted dramatically in the wake of these scandals. What was once a quiet, close-knit community has become the epicenter of a dramatic power struggle, with each new revelation adding fuel to the fire. As more and more damaging information emerges, it seems that the future of Mayor Tiffany Henyard is hanging by a thread. The coming days will likely bring even more twists and turns, and the stakes have never been higher for Henry and Carmen Carlo and the residents of Dalton. Will the mayor survive the storm, or will the scandal mark the end of her political career? Only time will tell. But for now, Dalton is left to grapple with the fallout from a scandal that shows no signs of slowing down. In Dalton, Illinois, the political storm surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard has intensified, leading the town to the brink of chaos. The embattled mayor is at the heart of an unprecedented scandal that continues to unravel with every passing day. Once regarded as a stable and relatively prosperous community, Dalton is now gripped by controversy as mounting allegations against Henyard's administration leave the town questioning its leadership, its future, and the integrity of those in power. The latest developments in this ongoing saga have deepened the crisis, particularly as new revelations about Henyard's financial management, her misuse of taxpayer funds, and the mounting evidence of corruption continue to come to light. Critics of Henry, many of whom had already grown frustrated with her leadership style, view the whistleblower testimony of her former assistant, Carmen Carlisle, as the tipping point. Carlisle's decision to expose the mayor's wrongdoings has set off a firestorm, and the political landscape in Dalton is shifting rapidly in the wake of her revelations. While some view Carmen's actions as heroic, an act of courage aimed at holding the mayor accountable, others are far more skeptical. Many question whether her sudden shift from loyal ally to outspoken whistleblower is a genuine stand for justice or an opportunistic move to protect herself. Was she truly trying to right the wrongs she had been complicit in? Or was she simply trying to save herself from the fallout of a collapsing administration? Regardless of her motivations, Carlisle's name is now firmly linked to the controversies surrounding Henyard's administration, and Dalton residents are left to wonder how far the scandal will reach and what it means for the town's future as the drama continues to unfold. The pressure on Henyard intensifies. With Carlisle's testimony threatening to bring down the mayor's entire political empire, the town's leadership finds itself on shaky ground. The situation in Dalton is no longer just about political survival for Henyard. It has escalated into a full-blown legal crisis, with the potential for criminal charges looming if the evidence against her proves solid. The investigation into Henyard's conduct, fueled by Carlisle's bombshell revelations, is now being handled by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was brought in to conduct a special investigation into the mayor's financial mismanagement. Henyard's efforts to block the investigation were quickly overruled by Dalton's town board, which voted to move forward with the probe. This setback has only added to the mayor's mounting stress, as Lightfoot's investigation inches closer to uncovering the full extent of her wrongdoing. While Henyard continues to insist that the allegations against her are baseless and politically motivated, the growing body of evidence suggests otherwise. With each new revelation, her grip on power weakens, and her political future becomes increasingly uncertain. But it's not just the testimony of Carlisle and Lightfoot's investigation that's putting pressure on Henyard. The town of Dalton is also grappling with a catastrophic financial crisis that has its roots firmly in Henyard's administration. Once financially stable, with a surplus of $561 million, the village is now facing a staggering $365 million deficit. This financial collapse has only fueled the growing anger and frustration among Dalton's residents, many of whom feel betrayed by a mayor they once trusted to steward their town's resources wisely. Reports of Henyard's lavish spending habits, using taxpayer money for luxury shopping sprees, first-class flights, and extravagant vacations, have further outraged the community. These indulgences, funded by the very residents who elected her to serve, have raised serious questions about her priorities and her commitment to the well-being of Dalton. It seems that the mayor, who once portrayed herself as a champion of the people, has been living a life of excess, all while the town she governs faces a financial crisis of unprecedented proportions as the FBI and other authorities continue their investigation into Henyard's financial dealings. It's becoming increasingly clear that her actions go beyond simple mismanagement. The evidence suggests that public funds were diverted for her indulgences, leaving Dalton in financial ruin. For many residents, this is a final straw, and calls for Henyard's resignation have reached a fever pitch. The town is now demanding accountability from a mayor who has squandered their trust, their resources, and their future. The town board, which has been blindsided by these revelations, is now scrambling to determine the next steps. Legal counsel has been sought to navigate the rapidly evolving political landscape, and some trustees are beginning to question their roles in allowing this crisis to unfold. The political discourse in Dalton has shifted dramatically in the wake of Carlisle's testimony and Lightfoot's investigation. The questions about accountability, transparency, and leadership are becoming more urgent by the day. Despite the growing chorus of voices calling for justice, Henyard remains defiant. She continues to dismiss the allegations as politically motivated attacks from disgruntled former employees and rivals. However, the mounting evidence against her is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Her attempts to suppress the truth and maintain control over the town are beginning to unravel as the pressure mounts. There are whispers of even darker forces at play. Rumors have surfaced suggesting that Henyard may have ties to local criminal elements, with some speculating that she has used gangs or other illicit forces to protect her power. The theory gained further weight after an alleged attack on Carlisle, her former assistant, which many believe was a warning or attempt to silence her. While this remains speculative, the troubling pattern of violence, financial mismanagement, and corruption surrounding Henyard's administration has made such theories seem more plausible. The investigation into Henyard's actions is expanding, and authorities are now focusing not only on her financial dealings, but also on possible criminal activities that could involve others in the town's leadership. Federal investigators, state prosecutors, and even the Illinois Attorney General are all now involved in the case, signaling that Henyard's grip on Dalton is weakening by the day. The investigation is widening, and more people will likely be implicated alongside her, including those who enabled her actions or turned a blind eye to her increasingly questionable behavior. Carmen Carlisle, once a loyal ally of the mayor, has now become a central figure in the investigation. Her decision to turn on Henyard has had profound consequences for both her and the town. For many, Carlisle is a whistleblower, bravely exposing the corruption at the heart of Dalton's government. However, others view her actions with skepticism, questioning whether she is motivated by a genuine desire to expose corruption or by self-preservation. Some suggest that Carlisle may have struck a deal with authorities to avoid prosecution, casting doubt on whether her shift in loyalty is an act of conscience or simply a move to save herself from the fallout of the scandal. As the investigation continues to unfold, the question of Carlisle's motivations remains a point of contention. Was she truly a hero, or was she simply looking out for her interests? Regardless of her motivations, Carlisle's revelations have set off a chain reaction that has forever changed Dalton's political landscape. Her testimony has forced the town to confront the deep-seated corruption and mismanagement that has plagued its leadership for years. Whether Carlisle is viewed as a hero or a self-serving opportunist, her role in exposing the truth cannot be denied. Meanwhile, the residents of Dalton are demanding answers. The once thriving community, now deeply mired in debt and disillusionment, is rallying together to call for justice. The growing sense of anger and betrayal is palpable, and many feel that Henyard's reign must come to an end. Protests are beginning to take shape, and petitions for her removal from office are circulating among the town's residents. The calls for her resignation are growing louder, and there is increasing support for legal action or even a recall election to remove her from power as the walls close in on Henyard. Her ability to maintain control over Dalton is slipping away. The once powerful mayor is now faced with a harsh reality that her political empire is crumbling. The ongoing investigations, combined with the mounting pressure from the public and the town's leaders, have left Henyard fighting for survival. It is clear that her days in office are numbered, and the residents of Dalton are no longer willing to tolerate her corruption, mismanagement, and disregard for the community's welfare. As the political crisis continues to deepen, the future of Dalton hangs in the balance. Will Henyard be removed from office through legal action or by the will of the people? Only time will tell, but what is certain is that Dalton is on the brink of a new era. The town's residents are demanding accountability, and they are determined to restore integrity to their local government. The unraveling of Henyard's political empire is setting the stage for a showdown that could change the course of Dalton's history forever. In the end, the question remains, how far will Tiffany Henyard go to protect herself and her legacy? And how deep does the corruption go within Dalton's government? As investigations continue and the stakes rise, the town stands at a crossroads, uncertain of its future but determined to reclaim control and restore accountability to its leadership.